Okay, so I think there are two main parts in chapter 6. The first part is about the division algorithm. Okay, so that is in a division of polynomials. Then we have a dividend and we have divisor, and then we can find the quotient and the remainder. And when you use the long division to find the quotient and the remainder, and then you can build up an identity, okay, from the 4 members of this family. That is, the dividend is always identical to divisor times quotient plus the remainder. Okay, and then so I have taught you about the relationship between the degree of those members. OK， 嗱，記住呢部分咧 degree 嗰部分咧，其實咧書咧係冇講過嘅。OK， 咁但係我哋去到做一啲高階啲嘅題目嘅時候咧，即係喺 DSE 係會出嘅。OK， 喺啲 section A2 或者 section B 係會出嘅時候咧，我哋用嗰啲 degree 去到諗咧，先至係可以諗到嘅。即係冇其他方法係可以諗到噶啦。你唔諗 degree 嘅話咧，就冇辦法做到某一個 type 嘅題目咁樣噶啦。OK， so degree of quotient is equal to degree of dividend minus degree of divisor. OK， degree of remainder is equal to degree of divisor minus 1. So we have learned this before. OK, and then the second main part is this column. It's about the remainder theorem and the factor theorem. Okay, remainder theorem is when fx, when a polynomial function is divided by mx minus n. Notice that this mx minus n must be a linear polynomial. Okay, must be linear. Linear means degree 1. Okay, so there is no square term, no power 3, no power 4. Okay, the highest power of x is power 1. Okay, no square term. When fx is divided by a linear polynomial, and if we do not care about the quotients, if we just care about the remainder, then the remainder can be calculated by substituting a number into fx. That number is n over m. That is when you put the divisor to be 0 and then calculate the value of x. And that value of x will be the number that you need to substitute into fx to calculate the remainder. Okay, so that is called the remainder theorem. It is for you to calculate the remainder. And then the factor theorem is basically a special case of the remainder theorem. Okay, so that is when the remainder is calculated to be 0, then we can say that the divisor, the mx minus n, is a factor of fx, or on the other hand, fx is divisible by mx minus n. All you need to do is to identify these keywords: factor, divisible. Okay, so the first line and the second line are exactly the same, having the same meaning. Okay, so on the other hand, if the question tells you that mx minus n is a factor of fx, then you can say that the remainder is equal to 0. So that is when fx is divided by mx minus n, the remainder is equal to 0, which means that this number is equal to 0, and so on. Okay, so normally we are going to use one of these two knowledge to set up equation. Okay. 好，睇齊人未先？仲爭幾個喎？咁我唔理啦，都開始啦。Okay. So yesterday I have asked you to do the classwork on exercise 6C, number 27 to number 38, and I think I have already done 27 and 28. So you do not need to do 28 again. Should be starting from 29. Okay, so we have already done 28. So I'm not going to give you time to do exercise 6C because I think I think all of them are actually quite standard. No special techniques, no tricky place. Okay, but I have selected some questions from the supplementary exercise 6 to do with you. Okay, so that is 46, 47. So these two will be a little bit higher order thinking. Okay, so need to learn some special techniques. 我打星嗰啲就係可能你哋未見過，未必會自己諗得到嘅，得唔得？永遠都係咁樣噶啦，打星嗰啲題目啊。Okay, and then so after talking about number 46 to number 47, we are going to do all the multiple choice questions from 54 to 61. And again, so I think these multiple choice questions are very worthy to do. Okay, so each of them are worthy to do. And then, so 嗱呢度咧，我有個新嘅符號寫出嚟 XQ。呢個其實唔係一個 X 嚟嘅，係一個 cross。OK， 即係 cross topic questions。cross topic questions 48, 49, 50. Okay, so this is also in supplementary exercise 6. Okay, just want you to notice that it is a cross topic question. 咁即係話咧，可能會牽涉到咧我哋之前學過嘅一啲嘅課題嘅咁樣樣。OK， 咁我會嗱喺呢兩堂咧 in this double lesson, so I will talk about exercise 6C, question number 29 to 38 first. Okay, and then I will go to supplementary exercise 6 directly. Okay, and I may not give you time to work for the classwork. Okay, for these two lessons. Okay. 咁但係咧，如果你喺factor theorem 同埋 remainder theorem 其實都做得熟嘅，譬如29至38呢啲我先所講 standard 啲嘅題目，咁其實你可以一路做落去㗎啦。OK， 咁你可以唔需要即係你淨係聽我講個答案 ，OK， 睇下自己個答案有冇錯，咁就得㗎啦。如果冇錯嘅話咧，咁就可以唔使聽我講嗰啲解釋㗎啦，29至38啊 ，OK， 一路做咗後邊嗰啲即係需要諗嗰啲題目先咁樣樣 ，OK， 嗱我就一路同你對答案先咁樣樣 ，OK， so let's start 29. It is given that x plus 3 is a factor of fx, and we have the formula of fx, so it is a keyword, right? Okay, so in part A, find the value of m. When fx is divided by x plus 3, the remainder should be equal to 0. Okay, remainder is equal to f negative 3, right? Negative 3. Which is calculated by this formula, plus negative 3 squared plus m times negative 3 plus 3. And then you just simplify this, negative 27 plus 9 minus 3m plus 3. So that should be negative 3m minus 15. Okay, and this is our remainder. But the question tells you that x plus 3 is a factor of fx. So this remainder should be equal to 0. Okay. And then we have negative 15 is equal to 3m. Okay, so it is like this. M is equal to negative 5. So that is the answer of part A. 都係啊，我喺度，我真係好沉嘅。OK， 我喺度做嘅時候咧，我盡量每一個 little step 都寫晒出嚟。OK， 咁但係你哋呢啲咩將個3除過去嗰啲，咁直接可以計到出嚟嘅話咧，就唔使寫㗎啦，得唔得 ？Calculation steps can be skipped, can be freely skipped. Okay, the calculation steps. And then part B, we need to factorize fx. So we just write down the complete information of fx first. So fx is equal to x cubed plus x squared and then minus 5x plus 3. And in part A, okay, it's not in part A. From the question, it is already given the first factor. 嗱，記唔記得我哋之前都做過咧？又要試啊，又要寫晒啲 possible candidate 出嚟咁樣噶嘛，係嘛 ？OK， 咁但係咧，其實喺 DSE 嘅題目 ，OK 或者喺考試參與嘅題目咧，我哋真係好少會叫大家 list 晒出嚟嘅。通常喺 Part A 或者喺個題目裏邊咧，都已經 given 咗個 first factor。OK， so when you have the first factor, so everything becomes easy. Okay, x plus 3 is the first factor, so we can just factorize x plus 3 out and then write down the remaining factor, either by using the long division method or by the comparing coefficient method, the BX method. Okay, so that is the method 2. So I like using method 2. So write the square term, write the constant term, and then the middle term should be minus 2x. Can you get this? Okay, and then you please remember to check whether this long bracket can be further factorized. 嗱喺考試嚟講咧，其實真係最多人錯嘅咧，就係唔記得去到繼續 factorize 落去啊。Okay, so this x squared minus 2x plus 1 can be factorized to be x minus 1 bracket square. Okay, because it's in the format of a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, you can use the identity to factorize this long bracket into x minus 1 bracket square. So this is completely factorized, and that is the answer of part B. Okay. So if you have problems, you may just raise your hand or just speak up or just type in the chat room. Okay. 咁我一路講噶啦，咁就如果你哋跟唔到或者有邊個 step 覺得係唔明白嘅，咁記得你可以直接開咪或者喺個 chat room 嗰度咧去到講出嚟，咁樣都得嘅，或者抄唔切啊咁樣。OK。And then next one is question number 30. 30. So it is given that x minus 4 is a factor of fx. Again, it's a factor of fx. So we use the same technique. In part A, the remainder is calculated by f4. But f4 is calculated by 4 cubed plus c times 4 square minus 4 minus c. Okay, so that should be 64 plus 16c minus 4 minus c. So that should be 60 plus 15c. Okay, so this is my remainder. But the question tells us that x minus 4 is a factor of fx, which means that my remainder should be equal to 0. Okay, so 15c is equal to negative 60, so c is negative 4. That is the answer of part A. Okay, and then part B. So same question to factorize fx. So write down the complete information about fx first. X cubed minus 4x squared minus x minus negative 4. Careful about this. Okay, so that is actually x cubed minus 4x squared minus x plus 4. 嗱，琴日我教過你啦，其實咧見唔見到咧？係可以咁樣㗎。Okay, and when we take out the common factor x squared is x minus 4 and take out the negative, we also have x minus 4 here. Okay, so if the ratio of the coefficients 2 by 2 are having the same ratio, okay, so this is positive 1 to negative 4 and negative 1 to positive 4. Okay, they have the same ratio, right? So we can use the grouping method to do the factorization. Okay, and then take out the second layer. It should be x minus 4 times x squared minus 1. Okay, and don't forget to further factorize the x squared minus 1. So it should be x minus 4 times x plus 1, x minus 1. Okay, using the identity of a squared minus b squared to be a plus b times a minus b. So fx is completely factorized now. Okay, and that is the answer. Is that okay? 31. It's given that fx is divisible by 2x minus 1 again. So the keyword appears here. See this? Divisible means remainder equal to 0. Okay, and then part A. So we just use the information given by the question to do the first part. Remainder is calculated by f number. Divisor is 2x minus 1, so the number should be 1/2. And it is calculated by this formula, m times 1/2 cubed minus 1/2 square minus 7 times 1/2 plus 3. Okay, so that should be m/8 minus 1/4 minus 7/2 and then plus 3. And then you just simplify the numbers, and that should be -3/4. Am I correct? Yes, should be correct. So this is my remainder, but the keyword is divisible. Means that the remainder should be equal to 0. So I need to put my remainder to be equal to 0. Okay, and then m/8 is equal to 3/4. Just multiply the 8 to the right-hand side, and then you get m to be equal to 6. That is the answer of part A. Okay, and then part B, factorize fx. So just write down the complete information of fx first. So fx is equal to m, what is m? 6. 6x cubed minus x squared minus 7x plus 3. And then the question has already told you that this fx is divisible by 2x minus 1. So 2x minus 1 is a factor of fx, and it is the first factor of fx. So we can take out this. 嗱，呢一題咧，我哋就比較難可以好似頭先個題咁樣分咗做兩組，跟住一組咁樣去抽咁樣 factor， 係嘛？因為咧，我哋揾唔到有邊啲咧，即係有兩個嘅coefficient 嘅 ratio 咧係一樣嘅咁樣，係嘛？咁樣咁所以咧，我哋就用翻呢個 factor theorem 啦。Okay, the first factor is 2x minus 1, and then write down the remaining factor. Okay, and the first term, the square term, should be 3x squared. And then the constant term should be minus 3. 得唔得？有冇同學仲未知道我點樣去揾個 first term, the square term 同埋個 constant term 嘅 ？Okay, and then for the x term, so it should be plus x. Yes, okay. 咁你用個 bx 嚟到去做，得唔得？跟住就淨係 consider 個 square term 咁就得噶啦。Okay, and then don't forget to check whether this long bracket can be further factorized. But this time it cannot be further factorized. So this is the answer of part B. Okay, 咁點樣去 check 究竟嗰個長括號仲可唔可以 factorize 咧？就係你撳一撳 Formula One， 睇下係咪出爛數。OK， 如果出咗個爛數係轉唔翻做份數嘅，就冇得 factorize， 即係冇得繼續 factorize 落去，咁就收得工㗎啦。OK，and then part C solve the equation。嗱喺 DSE 咧成日都有 part C 㗎啊，叫你 solve 一條 equation 嘅。咁通常咧 DSE 嘅題目咧冇咁簡單嘅 ，OK， 佢會將個 fx 咧搞一搞佢先，即係有啲轉變先嘅 ，OK， 咁先至叫你 solve 嘅，有啲難度㗎啊！咁但係我哋會星期五咧，今個禮拜五就會去探討一下呢幾年 DSE 嗰幾條比較難啲嘅題目，我自己覺得真係比較難啲嘅 ，OK， 咁樣樣。咁如果你有興趣嘅話咧，其實可以你去翻 Math App 嗰度咧，咁我其實已經擺上去 Math App 嗰度啦，即係呢幾年嘅 DSE 嘅題目係爭最近嗰年2020年未擺上去嘅啫。Okay, so fx is equal to 0, but we have already factorized fx in part B. So we are going to use the factorized form. of fx, because when it is factorized to be a product of two brackets, when the two brackets multiplying together to be equal to 0, then we can say that the first bracket is equal to 0 or the second bracket is equal to 0. Okay, for the first bracket, it is very easy to see that x is equal to 1 over 2, right? Then that is the first answer. And for the second bracket, we have 3x squared plus x minus 3 equal to 0. It is a quadratic equation. And you try to use the formula 1, then you failed because it is a long decimal number, an irrational number. Okay, so we have to use the quadratic formula, because that is delta is equal to b squared minus 4 times a times c. That is equal to, I think it is 37, right? Okay, delta is this. And then x is equal to negative b plus or minus. So I will separate plus square root delta over 2a. 2a is 6, or x is equal to negative b minus square root delta over 2a. So that is like this. Okay, so in part C, the question asks you to solve the equation. Solving the equation means finding the values of x. And we have already found all the real values of x. Okay, so there are 3 answers. 1 over 2, and then negative 1 plus root 37 over 6, and negative 1 minus root 37 over 6. Is that okay? 得唔得？嗱，成日都問㗎呢一隻啊，咁啊，大家留意啦。Next one, 32. So it is given that fx is this, where k is not equal to 0, and fx is divisible by 2x plus k. Oh, 又嚟咯。So can you see the keyword? Part A. When it's divisible by 2x plus k, so the remainder should be calculated by f negative k over 2, right? Negative k over 2. And it is calculated by this expression, negative k over 2 cubed plus 4k plus k, 4 times negative k over 2 squared minus 4 times negative k over 2 plus k. Okay, and then it is like this. This is negative k cubed over 8 plus 4k plus 4 times positive k squared over 4. And then it's double negative, becomes plus 4k over 2, that is 2k, and plus k. So this is negative k cubed. So when you take out the 4, so actually we can take out the 4 here. This 4 and the denominator 4 will be cancelled by each other. So it should be k plus 1 times k squared plus 3k. And then removing the final bracket is negative k cubed plus k cubed plus k squared plus 3k. So the final remainder should be k squared plus 3k. Okay, and this is our remainder. But the question tells us that fx is divisible by 2x plus k. So my remainder should be equal to 0. So k squared plus 3k should be equal to 0. Okay, and then there's a common factor, so we take out the common factor. Okay, and the product of two things is equal to 0. Means the first one is equal to 0, or the second one is equal to 0. Okay, k equals 0 is already the first answer, but the question tells you that k cannot be equal to 0. So this one should be rejected. Okay, and then k is equal to -3. Okay. So there's only one answer of k. Part B, factorize fx. So when we have found the only unknown, we just write down the complete information of fx. So it should be 8x cubed plus 4 times -3 plus 4 times x squared minus 4x plus -3, right? And then it is 8x cubed minus 8x squared minus 4x minus 3. Am I correct? Okay, and because the question has already told us that fx is divisible by 2x plus k, that is 2x minus 3. So we can factorize, so this is the first factor. We can factorize the first factor out and then write down the remaining factors. Okay, so again, I'm going to use the method 2 here. So the square term should be 4x squared, and then the constant term should be plus 1, and the middle term should be plus 2x. Yes, it's okay. And again, don't forget to try to factorize this long bracket. Okay, but this is not able to be factorized. Okay, so this is already the answer. Part C, find the real roots of the equation fx equal to 0. So fx is equal to 0. And again, because we have already factorized fx to be 2x minus 3 times 4x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, and then the left-hand side is a product of two brackets, and it is equal to 0. Then we can split the equation into two parts. First bracket is equal to 0, or the second bracket is equal to 0. For the first one, it is very easy to calculate the value of x to be 3/2. And then for the second one, if you use the calculator, Formula 1, so I think you will get a math error. 嗱，留意喎，咁啊，唔知大家記唔記得？我哋撳機撳到爛數出嚟，同埋撳到 math error 係兩個唔同嘅嘢嚟嘅，得唔得？如果撳到爛數嘅話咧，即係呢條式係有答案，但係我哋要用頭先嗰條 quadratic formula， 即係計個 delta 啦，然之後 x 就係 -b plus or minus square root delta over 2a。去到計翻 x 出嚟，但係如果你計到嗰個撳咗機係出到 math error 嘅話咧，其實呢條式咧就係 no real roots， OK？ 但係你唔可以就咁寫 no real roots。嗱，記住喎，呢度有一分㗎，中間呢度有一分嘅，爭啲咩要寫咧？你要點樣證明佢係 no real roots 咧？你係要計 delta。You need to show that the value of the delta is negative, is less than 0. And then you may conclude that there is no solution or no real solution from this part. Okay, so this is b squared minus 4 times a times c. And that should be equal to -12. Okay, which is less than 0. Okay, therefore, there is no real solution of this from this part. OK， 好啦，咁咧嗱，你哋一邊有 solution， 一邊冇 solution 嘅話咧，你最好寫翻一個 conclusion。Therefore，佢叫你 find the real roots 咁其實 real roots 咧，即係得一個啫，即係2/3嗰個。Therefore, x is equal to 3/2。OK， 就咁寫得噶啦，你唔使咩 the real roots 係乜乜乜咁樣。OK， 佢叫你 find the real roots of the equation， 即係叫你 find x 等於幾多。咁你最終你寫咗所以 x 等於3/2嘅話咧，咁即係表示到你知道呢一題咧，只係得一個答案，佢就係3/2。OK， 得唔得？ So this is number 32, and then next one, 33. What do you expect from question number 33? We have unknown A and unknown B. We have two unknowns. So we should expect we are going to set up a simultaneous equations. Equation 1, equation 2, and then solve for the two unknowns. Okay, so we have, it's given that x plus 1 and x minus 2 are the factors of fx. So again, we have two factors, right? 嗱，可以快少少嘅咯，而家。So f -1 is equal to 0. Remainder is equal to f -1. And then f -1 should be equal to 0. And f -1 is calculated by this. Minus b is equal to 0. Okay, and it is -1 plus a minus 1 minus b equals 0. So normally I will put the constant terms to the right-hand side. So a minus b is equal to 2. And label this to be equation 1. Get this? Okay, and then for the second information, x minus 2 is also a factor. So f2 is also equal to 0. But what is f2? It is calculated by this. Okay, and it is equal to 0. And then we have 8 minus 4a plus 2 minus b equals 0. And this time I move the a term and b term to the right-hand side because I want the a term on its positive side. Okay, so 10 is equal to 4a plus b, or 4a plus b is equal to 10. And label this to be equation 2. Can you get this? Okay, so now we have got our equation 1 and equation 2. Okay, and I noticed that the b terms is, the coefficient of the b terms, one is -1 and the other is +1. So when I add the two equations together, I can eliminate the b term. Okay, so I am going to do this. Equation 1 plus equation 2. So the a column will be 8 plus 4a becomes 5a, and then the b column, -b plus b, cancelled. And the right-hand side is 2 plus 10. Did I do something wrong? Wait. Sorry. I have done something wrong. Here. F -1. So f -1 is equal to 0. Okay, and then it's -1 power 3 minus a times -1 power 2. I missed out the power 2. And plus -1 minus b is equal to 0. So it should be like this: minus a minus 1 minus b equals 0. Okay, and then this time I should move the a term to the right-hand side. So this -2 equals a plus b, or a plus b equals -2. The equation 1 should be like this: a plus b is equal to -2. Okay, so please amend this. Sorry. And I think my equation 2 is correct. Yes. And then, this time, the b terms, both of the b terms are positive b. So instead of adding the equations together, I need to do the subtraction of the equations. So I'm going to use equation 2 minus equation 1. Okay, and then for the A column, we have 4A minus A, that is 3A. B column, B minus B, cancelled. Right hand side, 10 minus negative 2, we have 12. Okay, and it is a nice number. A is equal to 4. Okay, and then after finding the value of A, we just substitute the value of A into either equation 1 or equation 2. So we have 4 plus B is equal to negative 2. Okay, and B is negative 6. So that is how we can find the values of A and B. Okay, and then part B, find the remaining factor of fx. So fx has 3 factors. The first one is x plus 1, and the second one is x minus 2. And in part B, we are going to find the third one, that is the remaining one. Okay, so that is actually to factorize fx completely. Okay, so fx, now fx is equal to x cubed minus ax, and a is 4, so it's minus 4x squared, plus x minus b, that is minus negative 6, that becomes plus 6. Okay, and we have already known that x plus 1 is the first factor, right? And then we factorize the x plus 1 out, and then find the remaining factor. It should be x squared, and then the constant term should be plus 6, and then the middle term should be minus 5x. Okay, yes, and then we just further factorize the long bracket. It should be x minus 2, so one of them should be x minus 2, because we already know that the second factor is x minus 2, right? But the last factor should be x minus 3. So you just use the cross method or the formula 1, and you can find these 2 factors from the calculator. Okay, so fx is factorized as this, but you need to answer the question. We have 3 factors. Which one is the remaining factor? It's very obvious. Remaining factor is x minus 3. 記得答題喎 ，OK， 即係你唔好自己顧自己喺度計數，你一定要睇清楚題目，叫你求啲乜嘢嘢，得唔得？你中間呢啲只不過係 steps 嚟嘅啫，咁你一定要答翻題 ，OK， 對翻題去答，咁樣樣。All right, 34. So it is given that fx is divisible by x minus 1. 好，咁又嚟咯喎。As again, we have unknowns p and q, right? So we need 2 equations to solve the 2 unknowns. Okay. First, it is divisible by x minus 1. So f1 is equal to 0. Okay. But f1 is 1 cubed plus p times 1 squared plus q1 plus 5, which is equal to 0. So 1 plus p plus q plus 5 is 0. So p plus q is equal to negative 6. And label this to be equation 1. Okay. But what is the second information? Is that when fx is divided by x plus 2, the remainder is 15. This time we have remainder to be 15. But how to calculate the remainder? It is by the remainder theorem. Putting number into fx. Okay? Because the divisor is x plus 2 this time, so the number should be f negative 2. And the remainder should be equal to 15, right? Okay, so left hand side is negative 2 cubed plus p negative 2 squared plus q negative 2 plus 5, and it should be equal to 15. So negative 8 plus 4p minus 2q plus 5 is 15. 15. And then 4p minus 2q is equal to 18. And when you see all the numbers are even numbers, so you divide every term by 2. Like this. And then label this to be equation 2. Okay. Student asked me to go back to 33. Can you see this? Okay. So I continue first. So now we have got the second equation. Second equation. 好，33得唔得？得未？33。Okay. Then the second equation is this. And notice that the coefficient of Q in equation 1 is positive 1 and in equation 2 is negative 1. So when we add the two equations together, we can cancel out the Q term. So we can find the P term. So we need to do this 1 plus 2. Okay. For the P column, we have P plus 2P. That is 3P. For the Q column, we have P plus negative Q. Q plus negative Q. So that is cancelled. And then for the right-hand side, we have negative 6 plus 9. That should be 3. So P is equal to 1. Okay. And then we just substitute the value of P into either one of the equation. Okay. So 1 plus Q is negative 6. And then Q is equal to negative 7. And it's like this. OK 嗱，琴日講過啦，我哋呢啲係希望快做㗎，快做嘅，因為咧基本上冇嘢要諗嘅啫，係嘛？即係見到呢啲 keyword 咧就列識㗎啦，係嘛？暫時都未遇到任何挑戰住嘅。好，繼續咯 ，35。不過都係啊，未差切或者邊個 step 跟唔到嘅話咧，就出聲啊。35. It is given that x plus 1 is a common factor of fx and gx. Okay, common factor of fx and gx, which means that x plus 1 is a factor of fx and x plus 1 is also a factor of gx. Can you get this? Okay, so f negative 1 should be 0, right? And g negative 1 should also be equal to 0. It's okay? 得唔得 ？Common factor 係嘛？咁但係我哋都係咁做嘅啫。So f negative 1 is negative 1 square plus a times negative 1 plus b is 0. So 1 minus a plus b is equal to 0. 1 is equal to a minus b. So I will write a minus b equals 1 as equation 1. Okay, and then for the second information, g negative 1 is equal to 0. But gx is calculated by this. Minus a times negative 1 plus b minus 8. And then it's equal to 0. So we have 1 plus a plus b minus 8 is 0. And then a plus b is equal to 7. And label this to be equation 2. Okay. And then I noticed that the b terms is negative and positive. Okay, so I add the two equations together. The a column is a plus a, that is 2a, and then b columns will be negative b plus b cancelled. Right hand side is 1 plus 7, that is 8. Okay, then a is equal to 4. And then we need to substitute a equals 4 into either one of the equation. So 4 minus b is equal to 1. Okay, so 4 minus 1 is equal to b. So b is equal to 3. That is how we can do part A. Okay, part B, factorize fx and gx. That is very easy. Fx is x squared plus 4x plus 3. This is actually a quadratic equation, a quadratic expression. Okay, so actually you don't need to use the remainder of the factor theorem. you may just use the formula 1 to help you to factorize fx into a product of two brackets. But you already know that x plus 1 is a factor, so the remaining factor should be x plus 3. Okay, so fx is like this, factorized. Gx, originally it is x squared minus 4x and then plus 3 minus 8. Simplify this first. It's x squared minus 4x minus 5. And then factorize this as x plus 1 times x minus 5. So that is the answer of Gx. Is that okay? Oh, thumbs up. So number 36. Verse 6, it is given that 2x plus 1 is a factor of fx. When fx is divided by x minus 2, the remainder is negative 20. 死啦，做到悶啦，應該係嘛？嚟去都係咁，兩個 unknowns， 俾兩個資料你，一係就俾佢係一個 factor， 一係就俾當佢除某樣嘢嘅時候 remainder 係幾多？咁我哋一定就係咁列式㗎啦，係咪 ？OK， 咁但係做到悶嘅話咧，我哋就練速度啦。So 2x plus 1 is a factor, so f negative 1 over 2 is equal to 0. Okay, 2 times negative 1 over 2 cubed minus negative 1 over 2 squared plus m times negative 1 over 2 plus n is equal to 0. Okay, so it should be like this. And then minus 1 over 4 minus m over 2 plus n is 0. Okay, so that should be negative 1 over 2 minus m over 2 plus n 0. And then multiply the whole equation by 2. And it's like this. So m minus 2n is equal to negative 1. That is our equation 1. And for a second equation, we are going to use the remainder theorem. When fx is divided by x minus 2, remainder is negative 20. So remainder is calculated by f2. And it is the remainder, and it is given to be negative 20. Okay, but the f2 can be calculated by this. Okay, and then it should be 16 minus 4 plus 2m plus n is negative 20. So 2m plus n should be equal to negative 32. Am I correct? Check 一次先啦。Yes, okay. This time we cannot just add the two equations together or do the subtraction to cancel out any one unknown. We need to multiply. Okay, multiply first. So equation 2 is multiplied by 2 to get 4m plus 2n equals negative 64. Call this equation 3. Because I want to cancel out the n terms. Can you see this? One is negative 2n, the other is positive 2n. So when I add the equation 1 and equation 3 together, the m column is m plus 4m, that is 5m, and then the n column cancelled. Okay, and then the constant term on the right hand side is negative 1 plus negative 64. So that should be negative 65. Okay, so m is equal to negative 13. And then you just substitute the value of m into either one of the equation. Okay, so negative 13 minus 2n is equal to -1. So negative 2n is equal to 12 and n is -6. Okay, so that is the answer of part A. So when we have found the unknowns, so we have the complete information of fx. So we just write down the complete information. So m is -13, and then x plus n is -6. And we have already known that 2x plus 1 is a factor. So we can factorize out the 2x plus 1 and then write down the remaining factor. The square term should be just 1x squared. And then the constant term should be -6. And then we have the middle term. The middle term should be -x. Am I correct? Yes. Okay. And don't forget to try to further factorize this. And this can be factorized. It's 2x plus 1, and then it should be x minus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, using the cross method or the formula 1 from the calculator. So this is fx in dim. Next one, 37. Verse 7. So when a polynomial fx is divided by x minus 3, the quotient is this. It is given that f3 is equal to -60. 嗱呢一題咧，好似有少少特別喎。OK， 嗱即唔係特別啊，即係同之前嗰啲唔同嘅。首先呢一題咧係冇未知數嘅，係嘛？但係嗱喺呢一個 division。When fx is divided by x minus 3, the quotient is this, but we do not know the remainder, right? Okay, it is not given. I mean, the remainder is not given directly. Can you see this? Okay, 好啦，咁點算咧？我哋就可以咁樣啦。Part A， 咁我哋今次咧試下用翻呢一個嘅 division algorithm. So that's like this.Let fx to be identical to the divisor times quotient plus remainder。好啦，但係個 remainder 咧係未知喎，係嘛？但係我哋可以知道咧個 remainder 應該係 degree 幾多咧？如果根據我一開始嗰個 summary 嘅話咧 ，the degree of the remainder should be equal to the degree of the divisor and then minus 1. The divisor is x minus 3 this time, okay, which is, I mean, the highest power of x is 1. So it is of degree 1, which means that the degree of the remainder should be degree 0. And degree 0 is just a constant term. So that should be equal to r. Okay, just write an r or just write a k or an A will be okay. So we have an unknown this time. We have an unknown R. An unknown to be found by using the given information. But what is given is that f3 is equal to -60. So we calculate f3 ourselves. But from our equation, it is equal to 3 minus 3 times 3 squared plus 7 3 minus 16 plus r, right? Okay. But the left hand side is f3, so that should be equal to -60. It is given. The right hand side is simplified to be just an r. So we can find that r is equal to -60. So that is the remainder is equal to -60, right? So when we have already found the only unknown, so we can write down the complete information of fx. It's just equal to x minus 3 times 3x squared plus 7x minus 16 minus 60. 好，咁不過咧，唔好將呢個做答案喎，因為咧，嗱，我哋即係要做答案嘅時候咧， 就唔能夠將一部分嘅 terms 去到 factorize 咗佢，賴低咗有啲 term 唔 factorize 嘅。一係你就全部都 factorize 好佢，即係變成成嚿嘢變成一嚿成一嚿成一嚿咁樣樣。一係你就全部攤翻開晒佢 ，OK？ 變到一個 term 加一個 term 加一個 term 加一個 term 咁樣 ，OK？ 唔能夠話中間有一部分係 factorize 咗，另外一部分咧就擺低佢喺度減60咁樣樣 ，OK？ 就唔能夠做答案嘅。所以呢度咧，我哋應該咧今次就攤翻開晒佢先啦。Okay, it should be 3x cubed plus 7x squared minus 16x and then minus 9x squared minus 21x plus 48 minus 60. And then finally, it is simplified to be 3x cubed minus 2x squared. So minus 16 minus 21 becomes minus 37x and then plus 48 minus 60, that is minus 12. Okay, and that is the answer of part A. Then part B, question asks to find F4. Fx has been found to be 3x cubed minus 2x squared minus 37x minus 12. And then F4 is just replace all the x by 4. 呢個係咩㗎？呢個係減嚟嘅。Okay, and then do the calculation with the calculator. So I think it is equal to to 0. Okay, F4 is equal to 0. Yes. 點解叫你無端叫你計 F4， 又會俾你計到等於0咧？咁啊，梗係要 factorize 啦 ，because F4 is equal to 0. Therefore, we can say that x minus 4 is a factor of fx. 我認為呢一度係有一分嘅，呢度留意啦。因為佢 part B 唔係叫你 show that x minus 4 is a factor of fx， 佢係無端叫你計 F4。咁所以咧，佢係想考你知唔知道因為 F4 等於0，所以我哋可以結論到 x minus 4 is a factor of fx 呢一件事。佢係想考你知唔知道由上面嘅結果可以得出呢一個結論。所以請你記得寫翻呢一句，因為 because f4 is equal to 0, therefore x minus 4 is a factor of fx. Okay, so I think there's 1 mark for this statement. Okay, so fx is originally equal to this, but we have the first factor to be x minus 4, so we can write down the remaining factors. So that should be 3x squared. Okay, and then the constant term should be plus 3. And the middle term should be plus 10x. Yes, okay? And then you try to further factorize the long bracket. So I think it should be x plus 3 and 3x plus 1. Yes. So this is part C. 得唔得？咁呢題有少少唔同嘅，咁但係我覺得都係應該要識做嘅37題啊。Okay. Finally, 38. When a polynomial fx is divided by x plus 2, the quotient is 4x squared minus 15. It's given that f negative 2 is equal to 21. 好，又係咁樣喎。佢俾今次咧俾一個 quotient 嚟喎，咁即係咧我哋唔可以直接用得嗰個 remainder theorem 啦，係嘛？咁我哋要用個 division algorithm 咯。Okay, so fx is identical to x plus 2 times the quotient 4x squared minus 15 plus the remainder. Again, the degree of divisor is 1. So the degree of remainder will be 0. It means that the remainder is just a constant r. Okay, no x term in the remainder, right? And it is also given that f negative 2 is equal to 21. So we calculate f negative 2, which is calculated by negative 2 plus 2 times 4 times negative 2 squared minus 15 plus r. Left hand side is f negative 2. Yes, left hand side is f negative 2, but it is given that f negative 2 is equal to 21. Okay, and right hand side, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So this thing becomes 0. So what is remaining is just r. Okay, which means that r is equal to 21. And fx is equal to x plus 2 times 4x squared minus 15 plus 21. Okay, but normally we will expand this. So it should be 4x cubed minus 15x plus 8x squared minus 30 plus 21. And then it should be 4x cubed plus 8x squared minus 15x and then minus 9. Okay, and this is our fx. But the question asks us whether fx is divisible by x plus 3. So we need to check whether fx is divisible by x plus 3. So we need to calculate f negative 3. Okay, to see whether it is equal to 0 or not. If f negative 3 is 0, then remainder is 0, and we say yes, it is divisible. If it is not 0, then we say no, it's not divisible. So it's like this. Just use the calculator to do this. So it should be zero. Yes, 0. Okay. So please do not explain your answer with words. Okay. Explain your answer with calculations. This is the explanation. Okay. Okay. But you need to write down a conclusion. Okay. Therefore, fx is divisible by x plus 3. Okay, like this. Now, part B, to factorize fx. Fx has already been found to be 4x cubed plus 8x squared minus 15x minus 9. And in part A, the last line, we have already proved that fx is divisible by x plus 3, which means that x plus 3 will be the first factor of fx. Okay, and then the remaining factor can be found by method 2. Square term should be 4x squared, and then constant term should be minus 3, and then the middle term should be minus 4x. Am I correct? Yes. And check whether the long bracket can be further factorized, and I think it is yes. It's 2x. Let me see, should be this. Yes. Okay, so this is part B. 得唔得 ？Well, part C is very 無聊 because we have already factorized fx to be x plus 3, 2x plus 1, and 2x minus 3. Okay, so the product of 3 brackets is equal to 0, and then we can split the equations into 3 parts. X plus 3 is 0, or 2x plus 1 is 0, or 2x minus 3 is 0. And then each of them is a simple equation. So x is negative 3, or x is negative 1 over 2, or x is 3 over 2. So there are 3 answers. Is it correct? Yes. Okay. So that is the end of exercise 6C. Do you have any problems? So please give me a response here. Okay, if you are okay for the exercise 6C, please give me a like or a clap. Okay, if you do not understand any part, please raise your hand. Okay， 好，呢度想你俾個反應我啊。如果你 exercise 6C 呢啲 level 2題目嘅話咧，係 OK 嘅話咧，可唔可以俾個 like 或者俾個拍手掌我 ？OK。咁如果有任何一啲地方唔得嘅話咧，可唔可以俾個舉手我 ？OK, good, thank you, thank you. OK， 好，有冇舉手？有冇邊啲未抄到嘅？未抄切嘅？好啦，咁跟住咧，咁我咧就講埋嗰兩題先。咁但係咧，我想俾少少時間你試一試先啊。Let's go to page 6.39. 6.39. So I would like you to do question number 46 and 47 on the next page. Maybe you just have time to do 46 today. Page 6.39. So this is supplementary exercise 6, question number 46. Okay. So I give you 5 minutes to do this. And then we will check the answer. Well, I think 46 is actually not really difficult. Maybe I just give you 3 minutes.
老師可以開咪直接講，咁就可以方便你唔使打。
好啊，我睇望望先啊。
唔該。我知道之後最長嗰條邊咧都係 n+100係應該等於728嘅，但我唔知點樣寫話 n+100等於728，所以 n 就等於718。
先啊，7n 咩7？好啦，你咪喺 A part 嗰度咧，係已經做咗呢一樣嘢㗎啦，即係咁樣啊。x 加10係等於一個 quotient 啦，跟住再加，跟住餘數就係728咁樣啦，係嘛 ？OK， 咁咧我哋將佢寫翻做一個division algorithm 先。x cube plus 呢一個嘢係咪等於 x 加10乘以 quotient 加728咁樣樣 ？OK， 咁然之後咧，我哋兩邊一齊除以 x 加10。OK， 咁左手邊呢一個咧，左手邊呢個係咪就係個 A 嚟㗎？啊，我應該咁講，我應該將嗰啲 x 咧全部變晒 n 先啊。OK， 或者我臨尾先變翻個 n 啊，咁樣樣。OK， 然之後咧，左手邊唔喐㗎啦，右手邊咧，我將上邊係咪一嚿嘢加728，然之後 over x 加10，咁我將佢分開做咁樣樣。跟住咧，呢個咪變咗咁樣，即係個x 加10咧係約走咗噶嘛。然之後咧後邊咧就係728 over x 加10咁樣樣。OK， 好啦，咁我嚟到呢一個之後咧，如果我將嗰啲 x 變晒做 n 嘅話咧，即係 n cube 加12 cube， 跟住n 加10啦，就等於 quotient 加728 over n 加10咁樣啦。左手邊就係個 a 嚟嘅，跟住右手邊咧就係個 quotient 再加728 over n 加10嚟嘅，係咪？咁但係咧，佢有一個要求嘅，就係個 A 咧要係一個positive integer 嚟嘅，係咪 ？positive integer。咁呢一個 quotient 咧，即係佢除完之後咧，呢一個就係個整數嚟㗎啦。但係我哋點樣可以令到呢一個份數係要變成，即係都變成一個整數咧 ？OK， 咁先可以配合到令到個 A 係變翻做一個整數嘅。嗱，譬如你代個 n 係1落去嘅話咧 ，n 係1落去嘅話咧，其實就唔係整數嚟㗎，係嘛？728除以11咁樣，唔係整數嚟嘅。OK， 咁跟住咧，咁譬如如果你代個 n 係咩好咧？即係 n 係某啲數嘅話咧，我諗下先。354嘅，如果 n 係354。咁你就可以整到咧，
直接將728 over n 加10呢個大過0。唔係，唔得。
唔係，係啦，唔係咁樣。其實咧，唔使再計噶啦。咁但係咧，嗱，你諗一諗喎，頭先咧，如果啊分母，嗱而家分子係728啦，分母係咪最大都只可以係728啊？如果佢要係一個整數嘅話，即係如果佢 turn out 出嚟要係一個整數嘅話咧，個分母最大只可以係728啫。如果係729或者以上嘅話咧，佢呢一個已經係一個細過1嘅分數嚟㗎啦，就冇可能變翻做整數㗎啦。OK， 咁所以呢度咧，我哋可以直接寫咧 the greatest value of n plus 10 is 728。呢度 get 唔 get 到？
你唔 show 出嚟我就唔知應該點做啦，因為佢冇咗個 quotient。我都知個 quotient 可以唔理，但係就我再揣摩下。
嗱，個 quotient 係啲咩嚟嘅咧？個 quotient 咧，其實你可以叻咗佢出嚟咧，會好啲嘅，即係你會睇得清楚啲嘅。而家呢個咧係咪一個3次方除1次方啊嘅 division 嚟㗎？所以個 quotient 咧其實係一個2次，即係 degree 2嘅嘢嚟嘅。 OK， 你可以變咗去做咧 ax 二次加 bx 加 c 咁樣樣。
我想問咧，而家其實我唔知啊，因為我個 feel 佢俾我講 greatest value 嘅時候，我個 feel 成日覺得係要做呢個 completing square root。
哦，係啦。
之後728就係嗰個 maximum value 係咪啊？你係嗰個我唔記咗個叫咩添死啦。
即係個 maximum value 啦，係嘛？但係嗱幾時先至係做 completing square 咧？就係如果佢係一個 quadratic 嘅，即係二次方，即係 ax 二次加 bx 加 c 呢啲咁嘅 function， 跟住叫你揾 maximum value 啊 minimum value 嘅時候咧，就係 completing the square 啦。但係呢度咧，佢咪有個分數喺度㗎，即係個 x 喺個分母嗰度嘅，所以呢一個咧就並不是符合到用 completing square 呢一個方法去做嘅。OK， 所以其實我哋就要諗，一定唔係啊，一定唔係用 completing square 呢個方法嘅。OK， 呢一題咧其實有啲刁鑽啲嘅，即係我覺得呢題係刁鑽嘅，就係因為咧我成日都話咧 DSE 成日都問你，即係啲高階嘅嘢咧，就係玩啲 integer 呢樣嘢嘅。OK， 呢一度亦都係玩緊呢樣嘢嘅，得唔得？即係我哋最終係要諗呢一個分數，要佢成為一個整數嘅話，個 n 可以代啲咩數入去，先至可以做到呢一個效果咧？咁個 n 咧都有好多唔同嘅可能性嘅，但係當中最大嗰個咧就係718啦。OK， 因為當個 n 大過718嘅話咧，就會令到個分母大過728，就會令到呢個分數冇可能成為一個整數啦。
係咪應該寫728除 n 加10等大過或者等於1？
如果你其實唔係嘅，因為咧個諗法就係大過或者等於1，但係如果你想寫大過或者等於1嘅話咧，你就 show 唔到佢係整數呢樣嘢。呢一題嘅關鍵咧就係佢呢一個要係整數嚟嘅，係嘛 ？OK， 如果你寫大過等於1嘅話咧，你就可以 show 到 n 係細過等於718咁樣樣。OK， 係嘛？之
後再寫翻OK， 明白。
係啦，我會建議你唔好寫大過等於1啊，唔好寫大過等於1，就咁寫 the greatest value of n 係718就已經 OK 㗎啦，呢度。
好，唔該老師。
我聽日
你寫7再寫個 conclusion。
係啦，冇錯，寫多句，寫翻個 greatest value of n 就係718咁就得啦。OK， 咁我呢度聽日再講多少少嘅呢個 ，OK。好，咁就其實時間都差唔多啦，咁樣樣。或者我聽日咧先至再講翻46、47呢兩條啦。咁同埋咧 multiple choice 嗰啲咧，其實都係好值得做嘅。OK， 咁我希望聽日同埋後日咧，剩翻呢3堂時間裏邊咧，都可以講晒呢啲題目嘅。OK， so if you do not have any problems, you may leave now. Goodbye.
老師。係。我頭先咧遲咗20分鐘入嚟，係個 router 出咗啲問題，係，可唔可以幫我同校務處講翻我其實冇 absent？
好啊，佢當咗你 absent 啦已經。
我唔肯定佢而家係咪當咗 absent。我而家 check，因為佢唔係通常都5分鐘之後就會入嚟。
OK， 你係 4A 幾號啊 ？Sorry。
19。
19號。頭先係第4堂嗬。
嗯。
頭先啊 ，4A19，佢真係當咗你 absent 喎。好得，我幫你同佢講翻。
好，唔該。
記得 ，thank you，拜拜。